Well, hello and welcome everyone to this Friday's educational webinar with RightCapital Financial Planning Software. My name is Daniel Gregoire. I'm the Training and Customer Relationship Manager here, and I'm really thrilled to be able to talk to all of you today about one of my favorite tools within RightCapital software, which is our Snapshot planning module. So last week we spent some time and talked a little bit about the blueprint module, which is another one of our really great client-facing tools. And in the same way that the blueprint pulled together all of the relevant data entry for a financial plan and presented it in a very organized and client-friendly way, the snapshot tool is going to do the same thing for the rest of all the other planning tools that analyze that data entry within RightCapital financial plans. So the snapshot report really emulates the full spectrum of planning activities you can do within RightCapital, and it visualizes all those different tools in a very efficient, client-friendly view that helps to connect the dots between where the clients are today, what you're recommending to them, and what value do those recommendations hold. So we're going to talk a lot about the snapshot tool today. And as always, these webinars are recorded. You can watch it at any time in the future within our help center under the watch past webinars area of our webinars section. So I'll show you where you can find that later on in the presentation. But in addition to that, everyone, we take live Q&A. So what we want to do here is make sure that all the questions that you have get answered as well as we make our way through this information. So please don't hesitate to use the GoToWebinar control panel. Type in any questions that you have to me as we have this conversation today, and I will be sure to get through the questions as we go, and likely reserve some for the end as well, just because we want to make sure we're timely and respectful of everyone's day. As it is Friday, and I know we're all excited for the end of this week, but we're excited today to talk about the snapshot module, and we'll spend the next 30 minutes or so doing that. So without further ado, let's talk about our schedule for today. We're first going to just have a nice overall review of that snapshot module. And this is going to take a few minutes because there's a lot we can put into this snapshot tool. And the snapshot module is, in essence, a single page dashboard that can be used to pull together the rest of the areas of RightCapital software into one consolidated client-friendly view. This is a great tool for quick updates for clients, maybe during quarterly or monthly meetings you may be holding with them. It's a great document or report just to upload to the client's vault to keep them up to date with some of maybe the changes that we see in the markets, for example. But it's also just a really helpful tool for you to stay on top of the client's financial plan. In addition, we want to talk about the ability to create and apply snapshot templates, because snapshot is a very customizable report with all kinds of different options for what's in it. And we do have templates that are available for you to leverage. If you have your favorite setup for the snapshot, we can make sure that you can set that up as a template. We can make sure that you can then apply that to specific clients and groups of clients if you'd like. And so that's where we want to give you that opportunity. And we also want to talk a little bit about the location of snapshot within the financial plan, because many of you notice that it's the first thing you see when you open up that financial plan. And you're going to notice in the case study today that we're going to be working through, I've actually moved that location, and we typically have a really nice logical presentation flow as we look at RightCapital that moves from left to right, where we work through where the client's assets are today, where their investments are today, and then look to the future to see what the client's probability of success is and ending assets over time. But the snapshot is the first thing that appears. So if you don't want it to be the first thing that appears, I'm going to show you all how to leverage that, move it around, and customize the reports to really showcase what you're looking for. And of course, as I mentioned, we'll be doing live Q&A throughout the whole process. So I'm going to transition over to RightCapital software. We're going to start looking at the snapshot module together. And ultimately, if there's any, like I said, questions, feel free to let me know. But as we have RightCapital in mind, we really have a broad paintbrush that we can use when visualizing and creating a financial plan and mapping that out for a client, everything from student loans to estate planning. So the snapshot is a tool that allows us to really customize what's visualized for the client in a way that hopefully they can connect with in a very meaningful way. And as I access our case study for today, I'm going to introduce you to the snapshot tool. So as I open George and Martha's plan here, the first thing you're going to notice is that I've actually slightly adjusted the snapshot report so that I actually just landed in the balance sheet of RightCapital instead of the snapshot report. So that's just one thing I wanted to call attention to. I just simply moved it over in the visual display of the system, and we'll talk about how to do that in a few minutes. But I've done that so that we land in the balance sheet, which may be where I prefer to start a planning conversation if I'm working with a client live or sitting down with them in front of a laptop or a tablet or a smart TV, kind of going through this information. So as I click over to the snapshot module, which lives in the dashboard tool, we're going to be able to see, of course, the snapshot template that I have set up for this individual client, co-client, George and Martha. And as I zoom out a little bit, we're going to be able to see just how customizable, this area really is. So as always, there's a lot of tools within RightCapital, from the dashboard tool, which holds all the balance sheet information, the liquidity information, the budgeting tools. We have the investment module, which talks about the client's tax allocation as well as asset allocation, and asset allocation over time. We of course have the retirement tab that talks about things like probabilities of success, ending and investable assets within the plan, savings rates, and then we have insurance needs analysis, college funding analysis, tax planning, and estate planning. So through all of these tools, we can build a very robust plan, one that can be upwards of 50, 60, 70 pages, but we also have the ability to pull together that data within a tool like the snapshot. And the logic here is that we have a customizable widget-based dashboard here that allows us to do drag and drop, to move things around if we'd like. We can, of course, use these areas to summarize the most important information for the clients. And in each of these areas, we'll see an actual area to add or remove. So here I can remove, for example, the probability of success or the notes here, and I can also add items. And so I want to take a moment just to really talk through these areas, where they're pulling data from, what's important for you to know as you're building these out, and of course the fact that we want to show you some of the customization that's available here too. So there's a lot of features that we can see within the snapshot, and although it's a one-page dashboard on our software, it can be upwards of two pages, maybe even 3 pages on the report if you were to build everything in. So what I've started with here, everyone, is a probability of success of the proposed plan, and this will pull in whatever plan is listed on the left of the retirement analysis to be able to showcase that. We also have some notes that I can add. These are notes that can be added in a full size or a half size area. We can highlight any notes we have if we'd like to create things like bulleted lists, or just create some more bolded features, or even a hyperlink if we want to drop in a link that says maybe schedule your next call with me here, if it's maybe a file being uploaded to the vault. So all that is just helpful. But we also have things like the client's current net worth, their current withdrawal rate listed here, their asset simulation or their confidence graph over time, their balance sheet of assets that they have today, tax allocation summary, current investment strategy, a stress test, and an insurance needs analysis for the co-client. But there's, like I mentioned, lots of variability and flexibility here with the options to reorganize data any way you'd like it, the ability to add and remove data any way we'd like it, but also the ability to work through some of these other options that are available. And since the conception, I'm going to zoom back in a little bit here for everyone, we've been able to just continually add features to this snapshot report. And so here, for example, we have options like key metrics, Now, key metrics will include things like the net worth, the withdrawal rates, and so when we actually look here, we can see, the breakdowns. And for the most part, everyone, these are flowing from areas like the client's, data entry for their net worth to see, how much they have as of today. We also can see things like the savings rate that this client is saving as of this year. So here we can see a 24.7% savings rate, and that tracks from the actual retirement tab under the analysis tool, where we do have that really nice savings feature. And so our savings rate, is it going to be, seen here, and this is what's going to track directly through to that snapshot module. Really like this savings tool. It's a great area that we've added in just recently within the past year or so. So keep your eye out for that if you haven't been using it. In addition to that, in the snapshot module, we can add those key metrics that are focused on things like withdrawal rates from invested assets. That's going to come directly from that retirement analysis tab under the retirement details area. That area showcases the client's retirement income over time, as well as the withdrawal rates each year for their invested assets. And so this would show, of course, how much percentage-wise they're pulling out each year. So maybe you have a retired client who's just retired and they want to know how much are they withdrawing this year to fund their expense needs. And maybe they're at 4%, right where we want them to be, or maybe they're a little higher, a little lower, but we'd be able to see that. We also see things like federal effective tax rates available and total effective tax rates. So these are going to be pulled from the tax estimate area. The effective tax rates are the actual total tax, divided by the client's AGI. So we can see that listed both federal and total here as well within the tax estimate area, which kind of shows us, where we're at, in different years. So just keep that in mind. We can see everything from effective tax rates here to federal income tax brackets to federal capital gains tax brackets, but all that data, is available just to quickly see in this snapshot. Now, beyond, of course, that, we also see this retirement income stability ratio. This is, again, pulling from the retirement details area of the retirement analysis, just like the withdrawal rate was. So just to visualize where that's coming from, it's really just discussing for the client's retirement, what percentage of their income is considered stable over time, right? So we can see, that's your income stability ratio. We also have, here options to see that withdrawal rate that we could track over time from invested assets. And again, all that data, those important points can just be pulled together within that snapshot feature. So here again, beyond the key metrics that can be added and removed, and you'll note too when we add these, they're actually removed from the list. So you kind of have a running task list of what you're including, what you're not including. But we also have things like the dashboard tools. The dashboard tools help us to summarize things like historical net worth, so we can track how our net worth has been performing over the last 30 days, for example, or over longer periods of time. And this is actually going to correlate this timeline to what we have set up within the actual balance sheet area. So again, in the dashboard balance sheet, if we're looking at historical net worth, if we adjust the timeline here, we're going to see adjustments made to the actual plan. So this again helps us to see what's happening, to be able to track our investments over time, and we can be able to see that demonstrated here within the plan. In addition to that, the dashboard tool also provides that great balance sheet overview here, but also a balance sheet summary. So here, for example, we see the actual summary of the balance sheet details. So here, for example, is just the regular balance sheet, and then we have the bar graph version of that just to break down assets, liabilities, and net worth. So some clients may prefer just to see a quick graph of what's going on. Others might want more details. That's where, of course, the dashboard tool can be leveraged. But If you have clients who are linking bank accounts as well, you can have them see their budgeting expenses over the past 3 months. This is helpful if they are tracking expenses, trying to get an idea of if they're on budget, if they're under budget, over budget. This also helps you to understand if your data entry was correct for maybe those pre-retirement living expenses. So again, the budgeting tool is going to track spending over time, and the snapshot tool can pull in that spending pretty easily and say, here's what you are spending on that specific card, and how are we doing to the budget that we've set. So certainly worth having that if it's something that your client is currently tracking. And in addition to that, we of course have liquidity analysis and tasks. Now, tasks are a big deal as well, because we know you might be communicating with your clients, asking them to upload grant documents or prior year's tax returns to their vault, or even just maybe linking those bank accounts to use the budgeting tool. The tasks feature allows you to showcase that. And of course, the liquidity module pulls all that information directly in from our liquidity analysis, which tells us, based on the living expenses we have set, based on the amount of cash on hand we have, are we at a deficit or a surplus in terms of our emergency fund, and might we want to potentially save more or reinvest some excess cash. All that helps to identify what the next best next steps would be for the client. So you see there's no shortage of data here that we can work with this tool, and all of these are designed to be very client friendly and very customizable again. So we can take the data, order it however we'd like. We can track information the way that's important for each individual client scenario. And as we look through, we'll be able to see all the different options. And when we talk about things like investments, I'll just show you what we already have. We can lay out, of course, the tax allocation summary for the client, the current asset allocation, but we can also help that client think through their concentrated positions and if they're overweight or underweight in any particular positions. In this case, maybe we have a GE employee who's got some employer stock that in their 401k or employee stock ownership plan that's very heavily concentrated. So maybe we want to call attention to that and add a quick note next to that to talk about diversification. But beyond that, of course, everyone, we can see both a retirement probability of success that we can list in this plan as just a quick identifier of, are we going to be okay? Current year savings, as we mentioned, income sources for retirement, all of these graphs that were similar to what we saw within the actual key metrics are all listed here for us to leverage. And what I'm going to do is actually just talk about a few more of these, and then I'm going to delete all of them just so you can see how much data is available when it's all just ready for building. And we can see this particular plan has 2 children in it, and there's 2 college goals that are listed. So we can choose if we want to add 1 or 2, as well as look at full size or half size text boxes. This is a half size text box there, but if we want to do full size, we'd be able to see that they're a little larger and they can incorporate a little more characters. Now, you just want to be mindful when you're generating reports, because there are times where if we're using bulleted lists, for example, with the text, or like just dropping down line to line with a couple words on each line, it can cut off that notes area. So you'll just want to be mindful of that. It's not designed for us to be writing large amounts of data into, but here you can see a 400 character limit on the larger notes area and a 150 character limit on the half notes area. So I'm going to just, like I said, go through. I'm going to delete off these just to give us an idea of what the starting place looks like for this report, and then we're going to really talk about how you can build this out to really fully customize this for an individual client scenario. So let's just say hypothetically we're working with a pre-retiree who's really interested in can they fund their goals later in life, and maybe they're worried about how the retirement picture looks for them. So we might, start off with this client, to really focus in on, some of the important areas that that are relevant to them. Number one being the probability of success, right? That's front and center for most of the clients within the Monte Carlo. And note that you can either have a small version of the probability of success built in, like we see here under the key metrics, or we can build it in as a larger version under the retirement probability of success. So you can kind of change the importance and scale of that based on the individual client. In addition to that, I think what's also really important for this client to understand is their retirement income stability ratio, as well as their net worth. So that's where I'm really going to focus on there. And beyond that, I think this client is going to be, happy to see how we've, grown their net worth over time. So maybe the balance sheet summary and historical net worth would be great for this client, as well as some information around, their retirement income picture. So I'm just gonna, keep building in some of the information. And so as I'm looking through, I'm focusing on what's important for this client. Maybe their, again, their income sources in retirement, maybe a stress test of all the different things that could happen for them in retirement. So again, I'm just, building in the important variables for this pre-retiree client. And then after I've gotten this aligned with where I want it, I can look at this and say, is there anything else that I think is important, and do I want to reorder any of this data? And so, maybe in this case, I want front and center my client's balance sheet. And you'll notice that as I move things to the right, for example, the data from below kind of shifts up. So, what we can do is, shift things back if we need to, and that's just going to drop it down. But I like the idea of having the balance sheet front and center, the probability of success right there, maybe the tracking of the client's net worth front and center, as well as having some widgets focused on retirement income stability, total net worth, stress tests. And then I just, in this case, I'm going to finish off with some notes to help this client get some recommendations from me, and maybe full size isn't quite what I'm looking for there, just for visuals. So maybe I'm going to go for a half size text box in that case. So that's going to keep things nice and organized, and this way I can let them know, we're still on track. Maybe point some attention to, the fact that, maybe we are specifically vulnerable to a market drop in the stress test. So maybe we want to talk about, changing the investment strategy to being a little more conservative if there is an equity markets crash. So we can, talk about that. And then maybe, schedule your next call here. And then maybe drop in a hyperlink on where they can schedule that next meeting. Perfect. So, this might be a really good test report to run for this client. And to generate this report, it's as easy as clicking the three dots, focusing on the report sub tab, and clicking on the snapshot area. This is going to download a quick snapshot report from RightCapital to your computer. So again, three dots, report, snapshot, and you can then print, email, or store this right in the vault if needed. So as this downloads, we can drop it right into the vault. We can add it in, and we'll be able to preview what that looks like for this individual client. So here we have, of course, the title page, some disclosures, and then a nice snapshot that we've put together for the clients. And so this is all, again, with the final disclosures there. And this is all very helpful for us, just to be able to map this out and showcase this as needed for just a quick output. But just as a reminder here, there's a lot of flexibility to build these templates out at a advisor level. So maybe you have 3 sets of clients you work with. Your younger clients that you're building up to, get into the AUM, territory with, maybe you're working with fee-for-service planning. Maybe you also have some pre-retirees, that you're working with, and maybe some retirees. Well, in that case, you can very easily, at an advisor level, build 3 separate templates for your snapshot. So here within the gear icon templates area, what many people are going to see is that there is not only report templates that can be built or client access templates that can be built, but there are in fact snapshot templates that can be built. So this is going to be a template that we have the ability to create. And so again, maybe this is our fee for service template, or we can even call it Snapshot, right? So we can save this in place. We can edit this information. We can tailor this data appropriately to include, what we want to see specifically based on this particular, client. Maybe they're younger clients. We're focused on saving more, so we can talk about savings rates. We can talk about, the actual, with total effective tax rates that their client is paying. We can talk about, maybe the particular, in this case, current year savings for this client, because maybe that's going to be an important metric for this particular individual. We can talk about, what the Monte Carlo correlation, Monte Carlo confidence graphs look like. We can talk about, maybe as well some insurance needs analysis for this client, and all of this is going to be built in as a new template that we can work from. And talk through how are we really achieving our goals and setting ourselves up for success long term. And so maybe the last thing here is a half size text box. It looks like we already had that. So let's work in one more here. And in this case, we're going to build in a investment concentration area. So we're going to save this specifically as our fee for service snapshot template, and we can see it listed here. And what's great is that we can then apply this template as needed to any group of clients or any specific clients. So here up top, I have groups of clients, my AUM clients, my flat fee clients. So maybe I'm going to work for my flat fee clients and my subscription clients. So as I save this in place, this will apply this template and will replace any existing snapshot items for that client. So I can go ahead and confirm that and lock that in place. And that will then transition this new snapshot template to all those clients. And as just a reminder, you can actually control those client groups by visiting your gear icon account tab, client groups. So this is where you can say, here are the different groups of clients I work with. You can say for those new clients that are, my AUM or my flat fee clients, I can choose what, new clients are for, what their default templates would look like, for example, for Snapshot. And I can also control, what clients are in that group by just, selecting their name within my advisor portal, visiting the personal information tab, and scrolling down to group, where I can control, let's say, if Philip Banks and Vivian here are flat fee clients or AUM clients. And again, I can apply that and then search those clients by subset. So I know that was a fair amount there, which is, all helpful, but, just to reiterate, the gear icon templates area allows us to customize snapshot reports. We can, create as many as we'd like. We can apply these templates to individual clients or groups of clients all in one fell swoop. And we can actually say that for any new clients entering our system, maybe we want to bring them into a specific client group found under the gear icon account tab, where we can see, who are the default groups for new clients, for example. And so maybe that's my prospects is my default group for new clients. And maybe for those new clients, they're going to default to a planning access template. That's maybe just a silver level access, but they're going to have the fee for service snapshot template there. And as you see, this really talks about, who are the new clients coming in and what group are they being filtered into. And then if you're using our leads URL, you can also choose, maybe you've got some new prospects after a marketing campaign. You could have those new clients, from the leads URL filtering into, a different group where maybe they have, let's say that platinum level planning access template in a new snapshot report, or something that's a little more simplified to not give away all that data all at once. But lots of value here, lots of ability to customize that snapshot. And the last thing I'm going to touch on here before we jump to all these wonderful questions is, of course, how did I get that snapshot report to show up as a secondary piece to the balance sheet? How did I get the rearranged data in the actual financial plan? So I'm going to look at all my clients here. I'm going to pull up George Washington here, and to just illustrate how I did that, I'll remind you that every individual client has this planning access tab. And as we access this planning access tab, this is where we can control what the actual client sees when they log in. So I can say, I want the client to see everything or not everything based on their individual relationship with me, which is helpful. And you can see what that client would see by just simply using open client, but choosing to open that in client access mode, for example, which would really tailor the screen to remove the data that I didn't want that client to see. So we can see a limited view of data here versus the full suite of analysis tools. But what's also important is beyond being able to add and remove that information for George Washington here, I can use this planning access to just change the order of information that's seen even in the advisor login. So as I change the order of information, like maybe we want the snapshot module to go first again. So maybe I can just, again, drag and drop and adjust the data. I can even adjust which modules come first or which modules come second, by just playing with that. We can see that, maybe I want this snapshot module to come second after the investment. So I'll click that, I'll drag it up specifically there. Oops, let's just get this up here. Maybe I want the dashboard, investment. Let's drop this there. So maybe I want the retirement analysis to come first. Maybe I want the investment section to come second, and then I want the dashboard section to come third. So you can certainly, reorder that, hit save as you need to. And then as you open that client, even without client access mode, we're going to see a different order of information presented to us as we're looking through this information. So here we see retirement, investment, dashboard. So now the first thing I see is that retirement analysis. But when I made these changes, I very simply just switched the order before this of the balance sheet and the snapshot report. Whoops, moved a little fast there. So I'll just show you how to do that really quickly, and then we'll, like I said, jump into all these great questions. So if I wanted to have this back to kind of the normal, work through here, we could, certainly move the things around. Could put our investment tab back, we could put our retirement tab back where it belongs, and I could move just simply the snapshot order to secondary here. And sometimes it takes just a little clicking, but once we get it right where we want it to be, I hit save by hitting that blue button on the bottom right. Then I can see the balance sheet will come first right before snapshot anytime I open this plan. And of course, this is the same functionality you have within the reporting capability. So, again, if you want the balance sheet to come first and then the snapshot report, you can do so on the actual software itself, but you also have the ability to map that same process out within the gear icon, or I apologize, the more icon, the ellipses there under the report sub tab, where we can do the same things if we want to actually just change the order of the reports themselves. So maybe the balance sheet comes before the snapshot, or maybe the dashboard comes after the investment module, whatever it may be. Wonderful. So everyone, let's dive into all these great questions. I want to make sure we get to all of them. I know there's a lot of them, so let's talk a little bit more about this together. So is there any plans to add snapshot modules to the RightCapital mobile application? So for those of you who don't know, there's a great mobile app that we have at RightCapital that's available for any clients who are just using the actual client portal. And although it's not in there yet, Nathan, I'm happy to pass that along. I think that's a great idea. And I do think that that's a really important point to mention as well, though, that we are currently working on, putting a lot more features into that mobile app and a lot more availability to leverage that for your clients. So if you're not already using it, definitely take a look and think about it, because it is a great tool that is going to see some really great enhancements in the near future. Perfect. Another one, can the stress test include variables that are going into the affecting bars? That's just a great feedback point. So, if we're adding a stress test, for example, for the clients, can we, maybe add some additional information there? So in the retirement stress test, potentially, talking about what the actual variables are. Although we can't show that now, for example, like this market drop immediately might be by 30% or 40%. We could always add notes next to it to be able to say, market drop by 30%. in stress test, reduce probability to XY. So, we could always, do that, but certainly appreciate that and happy to pass that along. Great. Perfect. One thing I would like to see, and this is a popular one, everyone, is the ability to kind of talk through the current plan scenarios within the snapshot. And although the proposed plan does immediately default to the current plan inputs, totally understand that need to be able to showcase that as just like a standalone, current plan. Here's your current trajectory. As of now, the only kind of workaround you have to that is to say, for example, let's add in, a second plan here. This new plan, for example, defaults to the same information as the current plan. You could even, talk about this as, the current plan if you needed to. I know it's not ideal, but, if you were to, build this in, you could theoretically, drop that in. It would be starting off with the same inputs, other than any added items that we can easily remove here. And this could theoretically be, the same data as the current plan. And I know that's not ideal, but certainly is something you can do to potentially have the snapshot showcase that current plan detail. But having just the ability to even have a drop-down menu, I think, is something that I've heard a lot of, and I'm happy to pass that along. Perfect. So some great feedback here. Perfect. So this one was, I saw in the snapshot area an asset return stress test, and I don't see that in mine. Why is that? That's a really great question. So this is a great example of how these features are going to operate. So RightCapital is going to work from the other modules to pull in this data. And what I mean by that is, here in my stress test, I have specific information included. But you'll notice that every plan in RightCapital has the ability to customize the stress tests. And so in this case, maybe in your plan, potentially, you've minimized the amount of information that's here by clicking edit and by adjusting what is visible. So maybe we don't have equity markets today, or equity markets dropping at retirement included. And maybe we don't have that combined stress test included. And when I make that adjustment here in the tool of this financial plan, that's the retirement stress test, that's going to feed automatically into the stress test on the snapshot. So as I revisit that snapshot module, that's something that we're going to see. So as I scroll back down here, we're going to see no longer is there a stress test for asset for markets dropping, for example. So check your actual stress test tool, and you might see that that is going to be a helpful adjustment if you want to include or exclude more information. Perfect. A good question is, can the clients rearrange this page? They can if you give them permission to. So remember, if you give them access to this snapshot tool and you say that the clients are allowed to, make changes in the plan, which is all available as a setting for you, you can control whether or not they can, make changes, for example. So let's just say we have Bruce and Betty banner here. If I were to visit Bruce and Betty's client access tab, maybe they're invited, I can control two things. Can they interact with the data entry, aka the profile, and can they interact with the actual planning module? So this is important to be able to say, can they or not edit the information? But beyond that, you can also say, do they even have access to that, right? So if I'm pulling let's say in this case, I don't want that profile to come first. I want the dashboard to come first, and I maybe want to give this client access to their balance sheet, but not the snapshot tool. I might consider changing their actual access points so they can or cannot change that data. So again, worth mentioning there. Perfect. Can I make a default snapshot for all my clients? Absolutely. So in that templates area, you can literally just set up that new template. You can apply it to each group of clients, and that will transfer to every client you have. So hopefully that helps. And if you need to revisit on that, we can go back as well. So this is good. A historical net worth annually would be awesome. I'm not really looking, at a 90-day basis. So how can we see that on a chart or a table? That's a really great question. So in the dashboard, everyone, if you want to see historical net worth over a longer period of time, so dashboard balance sheet, if you visit the historical area, you can see, all time, last 12 months. This will allow you to choose the timeline that's listed on this historical net worth information. And again, we can, adjust that as well. But this historical net worth, whatever we set, will transfer directly again onto that snapshot report. So again, that's all kind of built in. The tools pull directly from the other areas of the software to align the data for your snapshot. So if the snapshot looks a little off, if you want to see information presented slightly differently, you can just very simply, go back and make that adjustment. But here we can see a full calendar year, January 31st to today. Perfect. Great. Can the stress test show probability of success for a proposed plan? It certainly can. So just as a reminder, and I apologize that I reordered this because I know this is maybe a little tough. The stress test, again, is going to react to whatever we tell it to. So in this case, I maybe have a variety of plans available. So in this case, maybe this client is considering taking their annual pension at age 65. And with that particular plan selected, this is the information that will transfer through to the actual snapshot report. So again, just a matter of aligning the individual module you're working on with the report that you want to show. But really great question. Is there a way to show current plan snapshot versus proposed plan snapshot so the client can see side by side? Not yet, but I love that feedback. I'm happy to pass it along. For now, I'll just say that, in case you hadn't seen it yet, we did really expand our options for reporting with the probability area. So in the retirement analysis, there is a lot more flexibility now to choose multiple plans. So if you want to just run a quick report, with the snapshot, you could run a quick, comparison of the current plan, maybe retiring with different pension scenarios under that probability, as well as the quick snapshot. And with that, even you have a really consolidated report that still provides a snapshot, but might get into a little more detail of the different proposals that you would run for the clients. So I'll generate that while we answer another question. Perfect. Yeah, I love this one actually. How awesome would it be to have the snapshot emailed to clients on a monthly basis with updates? I love that. I definitely will pass that along. I know it's something that we don't currently really do a lot of, besides having the ability to set tasks that automate, to be able to send to clients. But I think that is definitely a great, a great recommendation. I'm happy to pass along. Perfect. So can you create a template from an existing client snapshot? Not yet, but that's a great point. Happy to pass that along. And can you change a template in a client's plan? Once you change it, do the changes stick? They do. So that would be a plan that's changed for not only the clients, but for the advisors. So just be aware of that. So here's just, again, an example of, a quick, this is an example of a 2-pager snapshot that ran over a little bit. And then the breakdown of the different probabilities for that. So this could be, again, a really quick 10-pager that, but in terms of the actual report, this is just 3 pages, besides the cover page and the disclosures. So could even be a 2-pager if we wanted to. Perfect. Great. So question here came in about, this is a really good one. Some people say they don't have templates from the gear icon tab. And that is a really great point. So thank you for bringing that up. If you are a part of a firm who has firm settings enabled, they at a firm level control those templates. So you can always reach out to your firm's super administrator or your administrator for your firm. If you have a kind of a point person, they will likely have some information that can then have them build templates for your team. Those templates then trickle down from the firm into all individual advisors. So that could be why you don't see this templates tab in the gear icon templates area, but you would still be able to use those templates once they're built at one point. Great. Lots of great questions here. One quick question is, what's the leads URL? And so that was a conversation that came up when I mentioned that maybe you're doing marketing to clients and you are actively getting prospects coming in through this leads program that we have. And essentially the leads program is designed to allow a prospect to click a hyperlink and immediately start building a financial plan under your login. The hyperlink itself can be found in the gear icon account tab under the profile area. And at the bottom of this page, you're going to find your leads URL. This is the area where, let's say you've just done a seminar and maybe you're sending up a follow-up email. You could include this link embedded in, let's say, a hyperlink that says, click here to start start financial planning with me today. They would click that link. They would be able to build a plan for you under RightCapital, and you could then get an email saying so-and-so has created a new financial plan, maybe connect with them to review the information. So that is our leads URL. It can be built into your website, your email signature, marketing materials, but it's very helpful. Great. This is a good one. For printing the snapshot report, what sort of formatting options do we have? We maybe have clients who prefer printouts, and often the widgets are a little off with font sizes and things like that, and that is important to remember, everyone. The notes area is an area we are working on right now, because as I mentioned, depending on how you're spacing that out, when you print off the notes, they can cut off even if it's not the full 400 character limit, like I said. So ultimately this is a tool that is best designed to be concise and short and sweet. So it's really there to provide that one overview for that client of all the other information. If they really want to get into details, if you want to add your own note sheet that's a little longer, you're welcome to, but it is going to be formatted portrait, not landscape, and it will be set up the way we see it in the system. Perfect. So good question here that came up. How can we change the order of tasks? That's actually a really good question. So let's take a quick peek at that. We have tasks that are great ways for you to communicate directly with your clients. They can be assigned in the dashboard tasks area. So for Bruce and Betty, for example, there's a variety of overdue tasks. And maybe, in this case, we want to be able to work through, the order of that. So again, here in the tasks area, really the tasks are going to be aligned by due date. So really there's going to be not a whole lot of flexibility to change that order, but we would have the ability to maybe remove some if we needed to. So that's going to flow directly through to the snapshot. So happy to pass it along as feedback, but in this case there's not going to be the ability to see it other than in a sequential timeline order. Great. All right. Lovely. Can you explain again what the client stability ratio is taking into? Is it W-2 versus Social Security, RMD income, or something else? So this is again important. This income stability ratio is really focused on the client's retirement. So I think that's really an important thing to mention is, when we're looking at the client's retirement picture, after they retire at age 60, for example. So this client is retiring at age 60. We see the income graph starts at age 60 and runs through their life. They have, in this case, lots of pension income, other income. They have annuity income potentially, or Social Security. Maybe they have some, double dipping going on. But all that equates to, in retirement, this is the actual income stability ratio. So that's an important component there that you want to be aware of. It's not taking into consideration, salary income for the current year. Perfect. All right. So let's see if this one is relevant here. Can you show us again how we create a template for given client access? Right now, under a specific client, planning access, says select template, and there is none. And I want to add templates. Sure thing. So again, if you're, some of you may not have the templates area visible if it's controlled by your firm, but for the majority of you, gear icon templates is where you can build those out. So hopefully that helps. Great. I think a lot of us are really, potentially wanting to see that email going out. So that's great. Maybe we can automate that for the future. Perfect. If applying the snapshot to all clients, will the notes entered stay distinct to the client? That's a very good question. And I believe they would be overridden if you are applying a new snapshot template. So be mindful of that. If you're adjusting that and you're pushing a new template, let's say to a new group or a new client. So if I were to go here and push this to George Washington, who we just started working with, we'll test this just to verify, but I do believe that would override the notes that were there, but let's just do that together just to verify. So here, as I go to George Washington and see maybe this new template that was then applied, we'd likely see as we opened up the snapshot report, reoriented for ourselves based on that, and we actually do have no notes here, and there were notes previously, so that would override that. So just be mindful as you're applying those that you might have to re-enter some notes. Perfect. Now this is a great question, on the leads URL, right? Can we customize that leads URL? And although you cannot customize it, Scott, I'll say it's very easy to just build it into, let's say, like a hyperlink. So I'll give you an example of that. This could be built into a website or a picture link. So let's say that this is the leads URL you're using. You could literally, build this in to say, as an example, just want to make sure I can hyperlink here. There we go, perfect. Click here to start your financial planning journey with me. So you can literally just copy paste that link, drop it into a hyperlink, paste it in, hit save, and then this is a link that again, if we were to click this, I would be launched into basically the 6 initial steps of data entry that create a client under your login. So just be mindful of that. That's a great option. Great. Another great question. Is there a way to remove historical net worth numbers from the chart before the client links accounts so the chart doesn't have a giant increase? It's a really good question. You can adjust the timelines. You cannot adjust the actual, you can't remove assets in the past, basically. So you can't adjust it. So I'm happy to pass along this feedback. I understand that adding an account will show a large jump in the historical net worth, and that's kind of what we're in reference to. But in that case, again, it might be worth just having a quick note box, to say, hey, note the increase in, in August of 2022. That was when we, linked your 401k account from this previous employer. That was not indicative of the, market performance that we see, for example. But ultimately, you can change the timelines as well to focus on the areas that you want. And if you link any accounts, we typically do have about 3 months of data that will come in from some of those linked accounts. So you might see some historical values imported as well. But great. So let's see. This is a good one. Do we get an email notification if somebody completes the leads template? You certainly will. And so if you have a prospect that creates a new profile under that leads template, you will actually get an email, and you can control whether you get a direct email or whether you just get a summary email notification on that here within the notification settings. So here you're going to see, client signed up using the invitation link. So you can get a notification in this notification center. You can get a notification in a daily report email, or you can actually get a direct email sent to you. And you're going to default to getting a direct email sent to you that says Jane Doe has entered her information into RightCapital and is ready for review. Then maybe you're scheduling a touch point with that individual. And another thing to mention, right, when somebody signs up through that leads URL, you can control what group of client they are then assigned to. So again, maybe they're going to be assigned for new clients under the prospect group. They'll default to maybe a specific level of access to RightCapital and a specific snapshot template if you want to set one up for them. So that's where this all kind of comes together. Wonderful. So everyone, I think you know, we did good here. Let's see. I just want to make sure. I'm going to read through here, just make sure we didn't miss anyone. So, you know, I think a big part of this is getting familiarized with RightCapital and understanding where these modules are pulling from. So, you know, if you're using the stress test in the dashboard snapshot area, it's good to familiarize yourself with the snapshot. I should say with the stress test under the retirement analysis, because they do directly correlate to one another. And as well, you know, understanding, you know, where those are coming from is helpful. And if you don't know, all you have to do is send a quick message to our support team. I hope everyone knows here they're a great group of individuals. They're here to help Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 p.m. Eastern. And in addition to that, you'll have our help center, which should walk you through a lot of the information, whether it's you're looking up information on the snapshot itself, whether you're looking up you know, a webinar that you saw maybe today in the future that you want to catch a review of. You can go to previously recorded webinars and see that, you know, built in. Or you can also, for example, reach out to our team as needed under the contact us page. You'll see options for calling us directly, emailing us, you know, scheduling a 30-minute one-on-one session at any time. We are here to help, and we want to make sure you can confidently use these tools, you know, with your clients day to day. So that's our goal, and please let us help you. Great. All right, everyone, that's it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Friday. We will see you next week for a presentation on analyzing the life insurance needs analysis in RightCapital, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you so much.